Hey guys, hey guys, turn up the volume. It's another early morning video before I go off to work, so I don't want to wake up the house talking too loud. So I, I I'm not surprised, but I'm disappointed I even got to make this video. Fake news came out saying the Pope's going to allow homosexual men into seminary. It's all, and I was like, this is so ridiculous that I'm not even going to respond. But I have a lot of people asking me because there's a lot of fake news out there. So let's take this in context. A couple things you may not have seen. 2018, talking to these same Italian bishops, Pope Francis says this: if there's a doubt about homosexuality, it's better not to have them enter the seminary. If you think that guy is homosexual, if you see a hint of femininity, don't let him in. And then he went on to say, our children are too important. This is after a report came out about a child abuse crisis, and basically said they were all gay men that sneaked into the seminary, saying they weren't gay anymore. And Pope Francis is talking straight to the bishops. Use your judgment. If you see a hint of femininity, don't let them in, because our children are too important for the risk. So this is 2018. 2013, right out of the gate, he excommunicated a priest, Greg Reynolds, for advocating for same-sex unions and women ordination. Viganò, before he went full Judas Iscariot, in his first letter said Pope Francis told him, we cannot have left-wing bishops, and by left-wing bishops I mean homosexuals. This is a quote from Pope Francis according to excommunicated Carlo Viganò. Again, he tells Viganò this: Pope Francis, quote, we cannot have left-wing bishops, and by left-wing I mean homosexuals. So, and then again, 2018, he says this. And then just I think in May, just this past year or last year, 2024 in May, these same Italian bishops leaked in a meeting that Pope Francis used a gay slur. It said we can't allow faggots in the seminary. And then the Vatican had to apologize, and 2 weeks later he used the same slur. And it's funny, these Italian bishops can keep a secret about as good as the Italian mob these days. Back in the day, mobsters would, do 50 years of life. They wouldn't give up anybody. Now, you see all these guys have ratted on their mob bosses on YouTube. I think YouTube killed the mob. I don't know. Maybe I should make a video how YouTube is hurting the mob and YouTube is hurting the church, because people are willing to go out against their mob bosses, their godfathers, to be YouTube famous, and people are doing the same thing against the Holy Father on YouTube. Might be an idea. Hopefully nobody steals it. But anyway, getting back to the subject at hand. So this is Pope Francis talking to Italian bishops. So now Pope Francis is talking man to man. He's a straight shooter. This is what he's saying. Now you have theologians who are very precise. I've interviewed some theologians. Vatican theologian Father Joseph Iannuzzi, is extremely precise, and he explained to me the importance of theologians being precise, and being a Vatican theologian as he is, he has to take Pope Francis's words as a pastor, a shepherd, not a theologian, and put them in perspective. So these Italian bishops, they hear all this stuff Pope Francis saying, be careful, if there's a hint, don't even let them in. And now the official church teaching on men coming into the seminary to be priests is this: the church, while profound, this is from the Vatican website, the church, while profoundly respecting the persons in questions, cannot admit to the seminary or to holy orders those who practice homosexuality. You see all these sites, Pope Francis is allowing practicing homosexuality in the priesthood. Those who practice homosexuality present deep-seated homosexual tendencies or support the so-called gay culture. So these people, so if you have deep-seated, like you're a homosexual, you just, it's in you, or you support the gay culture, or you practice, you're out, you can't come in. Such persons, in fact, find themselves in a situation that gravely hinders them from relating correctly to men and women. One must in no way overlook the negative consequence that can derive from the ordination of persons with deep-seated homosexual tendencies. Different, however, would be the case in which we were dealing. This is 2005. This is approved by Pope Benedict in 2005. Different, however, would be the case in which one were dealing with homosexual tendencies that were only the expression of a transitional problem. For example, that of an adolescent not yet superseded. So if a teenager has these fleeting thoughts and thinks about it and tells the bishop, when I was a teenager, I thought about it, but I never acted on it. And now I'm not attracted to men. They were superseded by normal attraction. Nevertheless, such tendencies must be clearly overcome. So even if you have that tendency, we got to make sure, the bishop's got to make sure it's clearly overcome for at least 3 years before ordination. So maybe you were 15 and you had this, and you want to enter seminary at 18? No, you can't. It's got to be at least 3 years, more than 3 years. So that's the teaching of the church, approved by Pope Benedict 2005. So these Italian bishops are hearing Pope Francis tell them, don't let any F words in the seminary. If you see a hint of femininity, don't let them in. So now these theologians wanted to be precise, write up a document to get it approved by Pope Francis, and he approves it. And people are saying he changed it. Now, I don't see any change. What he said, don't let any hint of femininity, we can't let F words in the seminary. I think all he's doing is explaining that document in just a straightforward way, like a blue collar guy would explain it. He's not a theologian. He's giving them straight. He's explaining that document to me straight when he's saying, if you see a hint. So the Italian bishops write up a document and he approves it. And everyone's like, oh, he's allowing homosexuals in. So let's read the document the Italian bishops passed to him. The church, while profoundly respecting the person in question, cannot admit to the seminary or to holy orders those who practice homosexuality, present deep-seated homosexual tendencies, or support the so-called gay culture. Such persons, in fact, find themselves in a situation that gravely hinders them from relating correctly to men and women. One must in no way overlook the negative consequences that can derive from the ordination of persons with deep-seated homosexual tendencies. Different, however, would be the case in which one were dealing with homosexual tendencies that were only the expression of a transitionary problem. For example, that of an adolescent not yet superseded. Nevertheless, such tendencies must be clearly overcome at least 3 years before ordination to the diaconate. Some of you might be saying, oh no, you just read that. Yes, I know. Because they didn't change anything. They just wanted to make sure, is this still the standard? And Pope Francis said yes. In fact, when all this fake news came out, the bishops came out and said, gay seminary reports are fake news. The Italian Bishop Conference told the Pillar Monday that recently published norms do not change the church's policy on homosexuality and seminary formation. So again, fake news takes that one thing, as long as it's not deep-seated, and they run with it. Now, you may not wonder why fake news lies about our church. Well, because the mainstream media is mostly liberals. They want it to be true. But what about Catholic YouTubers? Well, maybe they want it to be true too, so they could be homeless. Maybe they want it to be true too, so they can become priests. Just kidding. It's a joke. It's a joke. No, I seen the other night, it popped up, Patrick Coffin, headlines, Pope Francis allowing gay men in the seminary, something outrageous like that. Patrick Coffin has another issue. And remember, with these Judases that attack Pope Francis and the church, the issue is never the issue. The issue isn't Pope Francis. The issue is Patrick Coffin says Pope Francis isn't a pope. He's a sedevacanist. He says the seat is empty. There's no pope right now. So he's going to do everything he can to turn faithful Catholics away from our pope. For whatever his motivation is. I can't get into his mind. And then there's others on YouTube that do it for the grift, for the money. That's a big story. If I came out and said Pope Francis allowed gays in there, I'd probably get 1 million views. So that's another reason people do it. But make no mistake, on let me get some dates. May 25th, 2025, Pope Francis says transgender theory is demonic. He's no liberal. Maybe he's liberal with the environmental issues and stuff like that, but, on the issues of homosexuality, he's not a liberal. I have the dates right now. June 25th, 2023, in an interview with the Associated Press, Pope Francis was directly asked, is homosexuality sin? Pope Francis' answer was yes, homosexuality is a sin. That's that's right there, 2023. And let me just go down here, read some more statements. He goes on to say, when he was talking to those Italian bishops, saying if there's a hint of femininity, don't let them in. And then he says, I say the priests that are already in, that are gay, you must live fully celibate, and above all, be exquisitely responsible, trying not to scandalize your communities. Actually, it is better that you leave the ministry. This is what Pope Francis said to gay priests. So most of these guys are already in. They came in pre-Vatican II. I did a survey. Most of the gay priests are pre-Vatican II priests. In fact, according to the Pillar, who I just read, they reported a Georgetown University survey from 1965 where 70% of priests claimed they were progressive. And like Pope Francis says, left wing means they're probably homosexuals. Today, well, in 2023, less than 3% of priests claim to be progressives. So that were ordained after 2020. So the left wing media is getting nervous because Pope Francis is rooting out homosexuals from the priesthood. And those who hate Pope Francis for whatever reason are just repeating the lies of the left wing media against Pope Francis. So there you have it. Pope Francis didn't change anything. The media lied. And if you're watching someone on YouTube who claims to be a Catholic and are lying to you, unsubscribe to them. Don't support them. They're making a living off of lying about our Holy Father. Just think about that. In fact, when I first seen that article years ago, I made a video about it where Pope Francis says not a hint. And I found it on a left-wing rag. He was criticizing. He was like, oh, the media wants saying this guy's, a liberal pope, that Elton John wants to canonize him. He's a homophobe. This is what this liberal site said. In fact, the title was Pope Francis Goes Full Homophobe. And I couldn't find it today. It's like they scrubbed this. I looked, and I even found it on Life Site News before they changed to Fake Site News. Even Life Site News had reported it. I couldn't find it on Life Site News anymore. But it happened. 2018, Pope Francis told Italian bishops, don't let a man into seminary, even if he has a hint of femininity. And just a couple months ago, twice, he used the F slur, to say, don't let these kind of men into seminary. So why are people lying about it? Again, Either they hope that they can get into seminary because they're a little funny, or because they hate Pope Francis and they lie about him continuously. They lie about him continuously, you know. After Viganò was exposed with the 2018 report on McCarrick, where it showed that he covered for him, you know, that Pope Benedict told Viganò not to allow McCarrick travel anywhere. And there's photos that Viganò traveled Europe, traveled the world, going to fancy parties, drinking champagne and partying with his friend McCarrick. And then based on that report, Pope Francis laicized McCarrick. Viganò tried to flip the script, and the liars on YouTube keep repeating his lies, that Pope Francis was the one covering for him when he was the one that was supposed to be following him and keeping him in check, and he didn't. And nobody talks about, I think it was 2014, Archbishop Niestent was accused by several priests of being in homosexual affairs. And these priests said that Viganò was in charge of an investigation and immediately shut it down and threw away evidence. And Viganò's brother, who knows him best, Father Lorenzo, a Catholic priest, said his brother's a liar. His brother lied to Pope Benedict and told Pope Benedict that he needed to stay in Rome to take care of him, Father Lorenzo, because he was disabled. He said when he told Pope Benedict that I was already living in Chicago, haven't seen my brother in years. He wanted to stay in Rome because he was embezzling money from me. He stole $2 million from me. And in a court in Italy, they proved Viganò was guilty and made him pay over $2 million back to his brother. Viganò's brother also said Viganò would lie to people about his wealth because he didn't want people to know he was worth $25 million, because he told Father Lorenzo, yeah, people know how rich I am. It'll look bad, and I really want to be a cardinal. That'll look bad for me. So Viganò is not only a thief and a liar, he's a greedy grifter. He's worth $25 million and he stole $2 million from his brother. And in a Swiss court, they found him guilty of stealing over $200,000, I think $300,000 from his little sister. And he had to pay her back too. So who are you going to believe? Viganò or Pope Francis? Pope Francis spent his life, gave up. He was a bouncer in a bar, going to college to become a chemist, and called to the religious life and gave it up and lived poor. He lived poor. According to priests that knew him, he was considered a slum priest in Argentina. They lived poor. They used to have to share one meal a day because they were so poor. And he would go and minister to the poor. He gave his whole life to the poor. Even today, he could live in a fancy suite like these cardinals do in the Vatican. He chooses to live in the same quarters that the servants do. And he chooses to eat with the servants, the maids and the maintenance guys. So who are you going to believe? I believe Pope Francis. And again, there's two reasons people attack. Number one, they don't like him. Number two, they're grifters. Number three, they're liberal. I guess there's more than two reasons. They're liberals, and they want people to think this is what the church accepts, so they'll accept it. But there's many that hate Pope Francis for the same reason the Pharisees hated Jesus. Because he's a friend of sinners. The Pharisees accused Jesus of being a friend of sinners. The Pharisees today accuse Pope Francis of being a friend of sinners. So, stop listening to fake news. I mean, this is absurd. This is absurd. Some of the stuff they throw out. And I didn't want to make this video because I'm like, oh, this is just another lie. Just think about it. You've been lied to. Just think about this for a second. Please, open your mind to this. Just like the liberal media had half the country believing Joe Biden didn't have dementia. And then when it came out, they're like, oh, yeah, I guess he is. They knew it. They interviewed this guy. The people said that he would go talk to supporters, these billionaires that were donating to his campaign, in their living rooms, and he would have a teleprompter. Everybody knew it. But the media gaslights you that, oh, he's the sharpest guy in the room. I remember Scarborough saying that on Morning Joe, just like a week before he was exposed in that debate. And just think about everything else they gaslight people and people believe. Think about how you've been gaslighted about Pope Francis. He's going to ordain women. They pounded this in. And Father Greg Reynolds, I guess, was excommunicated because he promoted the ordination of women. In fact, Pope Francis changed the canon law to make it even stricter. Said if a bishop ordains a woman, they are both excommunicated. Then we heard, oh, he's gonna allow gay marriage, and he came out straight up early on saying there's no way. Marriage is defined as a one man, one woman. God created marriage. No pope or no church can change the definition. Oh, he's going to allow same-sex unions. In June 25th, 23, May 15, 2021, the Associated Press asked him, well, will the church ever bless same-sex unions? He says, no. The church cannot bless same-sex unions because God cannot bless sin. And it's just every day is something new, something ridiculous. These people want you to think that Pope Francis isn't Catholic because these people don't accept him as a pope. Some of them come right out and say it, like Patrick Coffin. Some of them just put the doubt. They accuse him of things that are untrue, like the devil sow seeds of doubt in you about the church and about our pope. And they just do it over and over. They're just constantly gaslighting you. Every day, a new video. Don't watch this. Is toxic. I know people that feel so free that they shut off these guys. They were ready to leave the church. They hated Pope Francis. They were full of anger and hate in their heart. This is what the devil does. The devil is an accuser of the brethren. So, defend the faith. Defend your family and defend your father. Always, always defend the faith if you are Catholic. And one other thing before I go, I keep forgetting to tell you guys, very important if you are Catholic, or even if you're Protestant, you're pro-life. It's obvious. I mean, God created life. If you don't love life, you don't love God. So if you're buying or selling real estate, please go to realestateforlife.org. We need to support pro-life companies because Trump did his job overturning Roe v. Wade. Now it's up to us, the states, to change it. And the only way these states are going to change the laws is if we, the church, convince people. And Real Estate for Life donates money to pro-life voices, and they only hire pro-life Christians. And in fact, they're the most experienced, most professional real estate agents that I've ever met. I wouldn't do business with anyone else if I was buying a home. These guys are straight shooters, very professional. So if you're buying or selling real estate, please go to realestateforlife.org. And please stop listening to these liars and grifters on YouTube lying about the Pope. This should be obvious, but like the frog in the boiling water, you throw the frog in boiling water, he's going to jump out. If Catholics if we could go back in time to 10 years ago and have some of these YouTubers saying what they're saying now about the Pope, you'd be like, this guy's not Catholic. He's undercover Protestant. He sounds so Protestant. I mean, just listen to Return to Protestant Tradition. This guy, Stein, this guy is so anti-Catholic, and he calls the Pope not Catholic. I mean, all of these guys, if we went back in time, they would have no Catholic viewers. They would be all Protestants watching them, just like the Rhino Republicans on all these liberal shows. Oh, I'm a Republican, but Trump is evil. Oh, I'm a Catholic, but the Pope is evil. There's no difference. They're fake frauds and phonies. And either they're doing it for money or they're doing it because Satan himself is driving them. God bless and stay Catholic.